In a major outreach to the Urdu-speaking population, the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat will be launching the first Urdu translation of Samved, one of the four Vedas. Samveda, which is an important scripture in Sanatan Dharma, to be translated to Urdu.
I definitely welcome it, but I would also like to inform your audience that it was Akbar who wanted Upanishads and Mahabharata.
Other religion, will you understand what the other religion says? Without reading it, one tends to judge. Many times, people of different faith, they tend to judge. Okay, my faith is this, their faith is this. But no, only when you actually read, you realize that all the religions, all the texts, they all talk of one thing, which is humanity.
Media panelist. Now, Irshad, we've seen several of our scriptures, our literary texts. List of the day for this show, Irshad Hussain is the South and Middle East Asia foreign policy expert. He's also Impar media panelist. Now, Irshad, we've seen several of our scriptures, our literary texts being completely disappeared because there were not enough manuscripts. While there was oral propagation of perhaps a Yajurved or a Rigved or a Samved or a Atharvaved, or for that matter other scriptures, other literary works, they were not written down, and even if they were not safeguarded, which has led to their destruction, unfortunately, and a large percentage of the precious literature has been lost forever. So in such a situation, how important does it become for this project to be taken forth in a strong way, right away, with the translations taking place in Urdu, in Tamil, in Telugu, in Haryanvi, in Punjabi, all the languages that India has, and not just all the languages of India, but the languages across the globe, whether it is Arabic or Persian or Swahili or Italian or Spanish.
Thanks, Megha, for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure. Yeah, let me begin with one of the chands of Samveda, which says, Tadatmani nirate ya Upanishadsu, Dharmaste mai santu te mai santu. Shanti, shanti, shanti. So it talks about self. See, the Samvedas are basically, they are known as musical compilation. They have a lot to do with the musical essence of the universe. Samvedas are also having a few chapters on space and Agni, and it basically says that the whole thing, the crux of the whole thing is that everything comes out from space and goes back to space. So what I'm trying to say here is, when people will go through Samveda in different languages, all the language that you mentioned, people will understand that whatever is mentioned in the ancient scriptures, there is nothing against any religion, any cult, any culture, any part of any human being, basically. So that's going to really bring people together. And that's why all the religious scriptures should be translated in all the languages. So this kind of a disharmony which is prevailing, that will really vanish. And it's going to really help everybody. People who are talking about Sanatan Dharma, they would know what really Sanatan Dharma is. It's basically Ekeshwarvad. All the Vedas are talking about one God, one supreme power. So it's going to help things. I can't find a single point which I could say that it's not a good thing which is happening. Now let's talk about the other positives on this. Once a religious scripture is translated into a lingua franca, any lingua franca of any region, that becomes part of their life. They know that most of the religious scriptures are mentioning the day-to-day affairs. They are mentioning our social, political, economic way of life. And it also will tell us that, I'm repeating myself, but it's important to say that it will never, for example, let's talk about Islam. It will never talk, there's nothing, a single word about, which you'll find in any religious scripture of Hindu scriptures against Islam. And same goes for Quran, because Hinduism came 5,000 years before. Islam was there. I mean, the Quran was avtarit. It came from the heavens 1400 years ago, and in different geographical regions. So in Quran also there is nothing at all against Hinduism. So all the scriptures should be translated in the languages which are known, so that this people who have been just quoting from one verse from one of the scriptures or other, and then a lot of debates are happening on that. That would become clear because they'll see the whole context. They'll see the whole reference. If some statement is made about somebody in any religious scripture, we have to go through the context. We have to go through the geographical and political situation of that time and then correlate. So nothing is mentioned in any religion which is against another one. That's my first take on it.
Okay.
It's a welcome step.
Okay.
And I hope a lot of copies are made available. Although, again, with a pinch of salt, I would like to say that not many people are reading Urdu these days. Not a lot of people are very good in Urdu, but at least it's good that it's translated, and it should be translated in Saral Hindi also.
Okay.
Megha.
Okay. Khwaja Shahid, I'm going to come to you now. It's also equally important that while the translation happens of the scripture in Urdu, and it's important that a Bollywood screenwriter,
every household. So this is going on process. It's not something Mr. Durrani has done laudable work, but it's a milestone in continuation. A lot of work is being done.
But Shahid, we would want to grow it in larger proportions. I give the example of Shakespeare's plays, Othello and Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet. They have been translated. They have been made into screenplays in various languages. There are Bollywood movies, and there must be Spanish movies and Italian movies that must be revolving around them as well.
I fully agree. A lot of religious movies are there. Hollywood you are talking about, Bollywood you are talking about, and a lot of religious movies form on the stage. Because literature, the culture, the dance and music is all has preserved it.
Yes.
And that's become a part of a culture. That's become part of culture. And we are proud of it.
Absolutely.
We are proud of it.
It's part of the culture, it's part of our heritage, and there's
not here.
Akbar ji thrice, and I have spoken to him not just as an economic power, not just as a political power, but as a cultural power.
Absolutely. Major Muhammad Ali Shah, again, language is not segregated, not limited.
A Muslim or Hindus or anybody. So at least a big segment of the population who speaks Urdu, who understand Urdu, it will reach out to them. And it's a good thing it's reaching out to them. And they know it, they understand it, and they know the message. And as Major Shah has rightly said, that if you know the original text, then they will understand the real meaning instead of somebody else's interpretation. Instead of somebody else's putting ideas into a mind, or somebody else is giving a wrong interpretation to suit themselves.
Into Saral Hindi also. So because there are more people who are misinterpreted it's a win-win situation, and I see it more benefiting the population who are not aware about the contents of the Samveda. And I would reiterate my request that there should be a translation into Saral Hindi also. So because there are more people who are misinterpreted the Indian Vedas and Indian scriptures and getting into a right-wing direction, because as a student of ancient history, I know the Samveda talks about cleanliness. It talks about the vrata. It talks about the virtuous deeds. It talks about the gems. It talks about the tapa. It talks about the scholarships. It talks about salvation. So all good things. These things should be imbibed by the followers of a so-called, everybody is a follower. I would say everybody who's staying in this country should follow the ancient cultures. But the people who claim to be the owners of these Vedas, they should follow this, and they will know that, this is not, it doesn't talk about hatred. There's no single word about hatred or killing or lynching or throwing people out from some place. The Vedas don't talk about this. So once these people will also read it, I hope in Saral Hindi, it's going to improve the environment. That's my wish, that's my hope.
Okay. I think also for a greater universal propagation, the language of the world, which is English. large number of people speaking English. I think that should be the next step. While there have been translations, English translations that have been done by English translators, I think a more